tell my story, and I start at the front. So I'm not going to give you too much insight on where I am now. We'll get to that. A few disclaimers. Is anyone familiar with ACEs? Yeah. I have a score 10. You're gonna hear about abuse, sexual, mental, physical. You're gonna hear about overdose. You're gonna hear about suicidal ideation. So if that's a trigger for anyone, then just want to let you know that on the front end. So yeah, we're gonna get started. I'm making y'all do an icebreaker. I always roll my eyes when someone says they're gonna do an icebreaker, but I always feel better afterwards. So we're gonna do one. It's called this or that. So you stand up for one thing and you sit down for the other, so everyone knows if you're this or that. So if you're a cat person, stand up, and if you're a dog person, sit down. All right. TV or books? If you're TV, stand up. If you're books, I'm right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Sit down. Can I shut this off? All right, the next one. Early riser or sleeping in? Yeah. This is a big one. If you're over, stand up. If you're over, sit down.
I don't think I'm over.
Okay, cool. I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure she's a stand-up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I really don't pay attention when I do it.
It must be her. Yeah.
I must be an over, so I'll stand up. Yeah.
Single, yeah. Okay, I like to start with this definition because I think my recovery looks a little different to other people's, or let me not say that, to what society views as the norm for recovery. Because as we know, recovery is a journey and it doesn't look the same for everyone. So SAMHSA says recovery is a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. And what that looks like for me and what I told myself within my journey, which you'll hear, is as long as I'm 1% better every day. I read that somewhere and that just stuck with me. Just try to be 1% better every day and I'll get to where I'm trying to go. And that felt like success to me. That's what kept me pushing. So yeah, I like sharing that. So we're gonna jump into my story. I tried to get by the bad a little quickly, but for you to understand why my good's so good, you have to hear my bad. So yeah, bear with me, guys. So here, I'm gonna show you what everyone saw on the outside. Very active in school. This is a school play, kindergarten. We did activities outside, school fairs, anything that they had going on in the community, our family was at. So this is what I looked like at 5 and 8. This is middle school. So started off in sports and everything. This is just basketball. I did softball, track, everything. I did travel ball, which is where you go and you can get seen by scouts. They can't talk to you till your junior year, but really heavy in travel ball. Started that in middle school. Track. I broke school records for hurdles, 100, 300. Went to nationals, really heavy in track, and succeeded there. Basketball, I played varsity all 4 years for basketball, and I graduated 4th in my class. And we were 4A high school, Alexander County, so there was about, gosh, how many? Too many. Let me just say there. In our senior class, and I was 4th. So that seems, I don't like the word normal, but that seemed pretty normal, right? That's what everyone saw looking in at me.
Normal for an overachiever thing.
Yeah. Normal high school female jock. Let's say that. So we're gonna go back. We're gonna take a closer look at me during these times. When I was 5-year-old, my mother met my stepfather, and he introduced her to IV drugs. So 5-year-old, my mother started actively using. She was using before, but that became her drug of choice. So I would say that was the really big turn point for her, and that affected all of us. 8 years old, my stepfather started molesting me. So that's the age I was there. That was going on in the background behind that smile. Middle school. My very first day of middle school, I got picked up from my grandmother and was informed that we were being removed from the household. So my stepfather was very abusive towards my mother, and he was, we grew up on double track drug dealer. So, yeah, they ran in, busted the house. They both went, got incarcerated, and we got displaced into my grandmother's house. So that happened in middle school to me. Now that was rough for me because I'm really, now looking back, I'm very empathetic of how people are raised because I know how my raising has affected me. But my grandmother has very old views when it comes to race. So I'm empathetic towards her growing up now because I know how she was raised. But during that time, it was a lot of hurt. And not like vocally racist, saying things like directly to me, but not realizing what she was saying was very prejudiced. So at 15, I actually moved out of my grandmother's, and I would call me homeless. I was bouncing from place to place, friends' houses. Sometimes I stayed with my aunt. Had to take rides to track meets and basketball games with other parents. The excuse was that my grandmother was raising a lot of us. There was 4 of us that she had to take in. Her house had just burnt down the year prior, so we were all in a little 3-man like RV camper thing, which is crazy. There was 4 of us, 2 adults, and 3 dogs in a little RV camper. Yeah, so that was the excuse, and people really didn't question like my bouncing around, and what it felt like was community surrounding my grandmother and helping her do her duties with us. Even throughout all this time, like I said, straight A's in sports, but April of my senior year, I was coming back from a travel basketball game, actually tournament, from Raleigh. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning when I got back to town, and I pulled over, and my boyfriend at the time went to, and he left this cup in my cup holder, and it flew over, and I had drink everywhere in my car. So I was like, I'll pull over in this parking lot and start cleaning up, and I don't know if my stepfather was following me or what was going on, but I was assaulted again. Just physically, I had enough will about myself to know I could fight back and I could voice what I needed to and physically fight back, because I wasn't as small as I was whenever I was dealing with all that. But that brought back a lot of trauma that I didn't address, because as you can see, I put myself in sports and school and academics and putting on a nice face. But April of 2017, that's when everything really started hitting me. I stopped going to school. I started drinking. I started using recreational drugs. And I don't know how I graduated my senior year, honestly. I don't know if it's because the staff in the facility just knew that that wasn't my character. They knew how I was prior or what it was. But from April to July, I did nothing in school, absolutely nothing. And they still let me graduate 4th in my class. So there's a lot of things I'm very grateful for looking back, and that's one of the biggest ones, was the grace they showed me there. So yeah. And then I graduated high school, still in that state of mind, still dealing with all that drama, and I immediately got into a very abusive relationship. And I still had willpower to push through. I went to work every day. I still devoted myself in becoming a better person all the way around, but really it was making me worse. You know, those 8 dimensions we talk about, I was really heavy on social and intellectual, and didn't really put anything into those other ones. So I was really burning myself out. But I was with this gentleman, and he sold drugs. So of course I was using drugs, and he took me to the doctor one day to do a physical because we were going to have a baby. And they told me, the doctor told me, because of past traumas, that I could not have a child. And that was my low point for me. That was rock bottom. Throughout this whole time, what I kept telling myself was that I was going to give my children a better life than I was experiencing. So that was my biggest motivator. And when I got that news that I couldn't have kids, that was it for me. So a week later, I'm sitting in the house and I grabbed a 90-day supply of his opioids and a 30-day supply of benzos, and I walked outside, laid down in the grass, and just took them all. Because I'd lost everything I thought I was working towards. I don't know how I was with the most responsible drug dealer in Alexander County, but he carried Narcan. And 8 years ago, it's not as easily accessible. Exactly. His parents owned a nursing home growing up, so he had a lot of medical supplies left over, and honestly, it was probably out of date, but it worked. He realized what I'd done even before. For me, I felt so at peace. I was ready. He put that up my nose, and I was ready to fight him. But looking back, I'm thankful for that, because a week later, I got the news that I was pregnant, and that did it for me. Realizing I could have a child and that I needed to turn my life around and do better for my son. It gave me hope. So I read this somewhere too. I'm a reader, guys. Hope is the most critical element of recovery, and that's what pushed me. So what I did when I found out that news is I packed everything I could into my little Nissan Murano at about 3:30 in the morning, and I came here to Wilkes. I started staying at the Hilton on 421, right across from Walmart. I stayed there for about 5 days, and I was working here in Wilkesboro at Coach's. And a gentleman that came into Coach's said he rented trailers, and he had a trailer I could rent from him. So I'm very thankful for him. Clinton Hayes, if anyone knows him, he was a big part of my journey. So I stayed 4 days in that hotel, was able to move directly into his trailer, and the next week I applied for college. As you can see, academics was a really big thing for me, so I enrolled in the bachelor program, and I really started exploring my faith at that time too. There's points where I didn't believe in a God, but then there were points where I was like, well, if there's a God, why is he so shitty to me? That was my thought process. So I strategically enrolled in a private Christian school, which cost out the butt, by the way, I don't recommend. But it really helped me in my spiritual journey as well. And this is where it led me. So you can come in. Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm in the program. Hey,
You're fine.
how you doing?
Good. But this is where it led me. I got my bachelor's. I continued to go to college, and I got my MBA. We have healthcare administration, and then health MBA with emphasis on healthcare management. I gave birth to not one but 2 children after they told me I couldn't have kids. And family is such a big thing to me. And I married an old man. He's 30 years older than me. So I inherited all this beautiful family as well. So they mean a lot to me. It's what I work towards, and I'm able to learn from how I grew up and put it towards helping them navigate. Obviously shading them from whatever trauma that I can, but helping them address trauma when it arises, because we can't stop it, This man right here is the best thing that's ever happened to me. It makes you wonder why you deal with, yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
You for real, not for real.
Well, it makes you wonder why you deal with so much for so long from someone who doesn't invest that in you. So, ladies and men, anyone, that person's out there. There's someone who's going to be selfless. There's someone that's not going to hit on you, not going to cheat on you. That person's out there. So, just be patient. My mother, she's 5 years into recovery. That's her with my youngest. That's my grandmother. We have the best relationship now than we ever had. And as you know, in high school, pretty damn rocky. Wilkes recovery had a really big impact on me. When I applied here, like my passion. I told them about my mother and how it affected me growing up and how I'm very empathetic of everything she went through, you know. I wasn't comfortable telling my story yet. And then I got here and I'm surrounded by all these people who are just brave and courageous, and it inspired me. So, yeah. I think why it's such an impact on me is because it's affected me in my recovery and not in my chaos, is what I call it, in my chaos. So it's very impactful and very emotional on a different level. They gave me my voice and they empowered me. So instead of hiding behind a cloak and helping others just because I feel like it's the right thing, I can tell my story and help others in a more impactful way. That's my story in a nutshell, but I also want to say, like, I didn't know about peer support before I heard about Wilkes Recovery, and that was 2 years ago. If someone would have told me about ACEs in high school, I don't think I would have hit where I hit. And I'm glad I didn't hear it because it's put me where I am. It's paved the path that I'm in, and it allows me to realize this is what I need to do for other people. And I don't know if I would have had that insight if I would have learned this at that age. So we're not all familiar with ACEs, are we? Because I'll just read this to you real quick. ACEs can accumulate and their effects last beyond childhood. ACEs are adverse childhood experiences that happen to someone before they turn 18. And there's science to prove that it affects different areas of your life. And you're more prone to health conditions, disorders. So children who repeatedly and chronically experience adversity can suffer from toxic stress. Toxic stress happens when the brain endures repeated stress or danger, then releases fight or flight hormones like cortisol. Every time I saw my mother getting abused, every time I was getting abused, every time I felt attacked because of my race, all those things. This internal alarm system increases heart rate, blood pressure, and damages the digestive and immune system. And toxic stress can disrupt organ, tissue, and brain development. This is proven facts. What we've been through affects us. Over time, this can limit a person's ability to process information, make decisions, interact with others, and regulate emotions. These consequences may follow a person into adulthood. If I knew I needed to address all these things for me to better my well-being, I would have done that in high school. But no one told me this. I didn't learn this. I knew how I wanted to raise my kids because I was shown how not to. But until I started here, I didn't realize the science behind it and why what I do with my children is so impactful to them and how it was so impactful to me growing up. And with parents too, parents need to hear this. Educators need to hear this because trauma is the root cause to everything. So that's my story. I tried to go a little faster because, I killed it, guys. I hit 26 years into like 27 minutes. So, yeah. When I go into high schools and I talk about this, I open the floor because while I was in high school, a lot of what I heard was, don't let outside experiences pressure who you've become and ruin your success and all this. And that's not what I needed to hear. You know, I just needed to be understood. Sometimes I just needed to be listened to. And the educators were the most influential for me. Negatively, let me say that, because they would make assumptions in why my life was going the way it was going. They would blame it on my boyfriend, who was the first person I ever disclosed to about my sexual abuse growing up. So he's the only one I trusted at that time. And they're blaming everything on him for my grades slipping, me not showing up, my sports going down, and I go into high schools, I say it's because of the kids, but it's targeted towards the teachers and the education facilitators because they don't know how to deal with trauma. And they're adding on to broken hearts instead of helping fix them. So but that's why I'm there. Yeah, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I didn't think I was going to get through it that quick, so thank you. Thanks for listening.